Hi, this is Abby with Happy Little Mystic, and welcome back to your free self-paced tarot course. Today's lesson will be all about card number 20, Judgment. And if you missed any of the other lessons in our tarot deck so far, you can check out the playlist link in the description box below. And if you're following along in our tarot workbook, if you open up to the Major Arcana section, you will find a place to record all the information needed to fully understand the Judgment card. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing we'll notice when we look at our Judgment card is that we have this large angel here in the sky. And this angel in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is depicted as Archangel Gabriel with his trumpet. So Gabriel is the divine messenger. He's heralding a spiritual awakening or a call to purpose. The trumpet is signifying a call to rise, reflect, and move into this higher consciousness. The flag on the trumpet here with the red cross on the white background is resembling the flag of St. George, which is symbolizing healing, protection, and resurrection. We'll notice here the people that I've had to cover up. That's because for YouTube standards, I can't show them, but they are rising up from coffins. And the fact that they have no clothes on is symbolizing vulnerability, honesty, and this rebirth without pretense. They're emerging from graves or coffins, and this is representing a second chance, forgiveness, or spiritual resurrection. So these people are answering the call. They're ready to face themselves or a higher truth. We'll notice their arms are lifted upward in this sort of surrender or acceptance, this readiness to receive their divine gifts. The mountains here in the background are symbolic of this permanent higher perspective or spiritual goals. They can also suggest the final destination of the soul's journey. So we've seen these mountains throughout our tarot deck here and there. We have them in the background of the moon. We notice them first with the Fool when he first started his journey. We have some in the Strength card in the back there. And then here the Hermit is standing on one of those mountains. So we're here now at the mountains, symbolizing the final destination that we've made on our soul's journey. There's water here too, if we look closely. And this water is representing the subconscious, emotions, and purification. So the water is often seen as this boundary between the material and the spiritual worlds. And we're right on the cusp of the water here. We'll also notice that the sky here is filled with light. The clouds are parting, and this is representing divine revelation, clarity, and truth. It's showing that the veil between the worlds is lifting. So overall, each of these symbols is depicting the theme of awakening, reckoning, a rebirth, transformation, and truth. So the spiritual undertone here is a call to rise into your true self. Elevate your past and prepare for a new chapter that aligns with your soul's purpose. So the day has come up to rise from the dead, rise from the ashes, and claim that higher purpose. Moving on to the Zodiac section of our workbook. Our Judgment card is ruled by the planet of Pluto, and Pluto's all about transformation and rebirth. So Pluto is the planet of death, regeneration, and this profound change. So it aligns perfectly with these bodies rising up from the grave. They're even kind of grayed out, so looking a little zombie-ish here, a little creepy. This mirrors Judgment's themes of the spiritual awakening, and karmic reckoning, and rebirth. There's also a Judgment Day energy here. So like Pluto, the Judgment card deals with facing truths, being called to evolve, and rising from the ashes of your former self. The planet of Pluto rules the zodiac sign of Scorpio. So our Judgment card is belonging to that of the Scorpio sign. And Scorpio is all about transformation and rebirth as well. It's exactly what the Judgment card represents. So just as the people are rising from the coffins in the card, Scorpio energy is about rising from the ashes and evolving. So both the Judgment card and Scorpio invite us to face the past. It wants us to embrace the truth and shed what no longer serves us. If you ask a yes or no question in a reading and the Judgment card shows up, It's generally interpreted as a yes, especially when you're asking questions related to your life purpose, awakening or personal growth, second chances, making a big decision. So the judgment card is saying yes when you may be ready for a transformation or a new chapter, or if you've learned your lessons and are prepared to move forward. If the judgment card shows up and you've asked that yes or no question, the answer is yes. There are times where the judgment card may be telling you not yet, or you need to reflect first. So if you're resisting change or avoiding accountability, perhaps you're stuck in the past, judgment might be that wake up call card. Rather than a straightforward yes, it's telling you still need to reflect. So not yet. So the keywords, if the judgment card shows up in the upright position, are going to be awakening, rebirth, redemption, this inner calling, perhaps spiritual awakening, something to do with your life purpose, forgiveness, reckoning, second chances, and major decisions. So the judgment card upright is signaling a powerful moment of truth, transformation, and self-evaluation. You're being called to rise above your past, just like these people are rising from their graves. You're being asked to reflect on your journey. We're on card number 20 now, and we started with card number 1. You may need to make important choices that align with your higher purpose. And this card often arrives when it's time to let go of guilt. Maybe you're feeling shameful or regretful of something. This card is asking you to step into a renewed version of yourself and shed those feelings of guilt, shame, and regret. It essentially represents a spiritual awakening. This moment of clarity or realization that ultimately changes how you see yourself or your life path. If the judgment card shows up in a career or finance reading, you may feel called to a new profession or realize your current job doesn't align with your higher purpose. Perhaps you have a promotion or a job offer or some major shift coming in for you. You're being asked to step up and take responsibility of your path. The judgment card could also indicate past efforts that may finally be acknowledged. Maybe you've had this long-awaited praise or opportunities or success coming your way. You might be entering a rebirth phase, launching a new business, changing industries, or revisiting a dream. So when the judgment card shows up in a career or finance reading, you may want to ask yourself, am I aligned with my true calling? What lesson or opportunity is asking to be integrated? And is it time to forgive past mistakes and begin again? The judgment card could also indicate that if you struggled with money in the past, a fresh start is possible, but only if you've learned the lesson. So a few things to look out for is avoiding financial truth or responsibility and clinging to old money habits that are no longer serving you. So overall, the judgment card in a career or finance reading is telling you it's time to make a career or financial decision that reflects your soul's growth. You know what needs to change. So this is your chance to rise up and claim it. If the judgment card shows up in a love or romance reading, it could be indicating that you may be entering this phase of renewal. Perhaps you're letting go of the past and starting fresh together. Perhaps you're having honest conversations. So judgment brings truth to the surface. You and your partner might need to confront unresolved issues or patterns. Our judgment card also is that reckoning moment. So you may be asking, are you both ready to rise to this higher version of the relationship? This card often marks a make or break moment. It could also be symbolizing this karmic or spiritual connection. So the bond may feel deeper than just physical or emotional. It could feel destined or soul connected and divinely orchestrated. If you're single and the judgment card shows up in a love or romance reading, it could be telling you that you may be working through emotional wounds or baggage so that you'll be ready for something real. You're healing your past relationships. It could also indicate that someone from your past may return, rising up from the dead here. Not always, but judgment can point to reconciliation, especially if both people have grown. It can also indicate that you should be ready for real love. You're stepping into a new version of yourself and attracting a partner who aligns with your truth. The emotional themes with the judgment card are all about forgiveness, accountability, letting go of guilt or resentment, and choosing love that aligns with your higher self. So the message here is let the past die so something deeper can be reborn. And ask yourself, are you both willing to answer the call to grow together? Moving on to the numerology section of our workbook, the Judgment card is number 20, and number 20 symbolizes a culmination or moment of reckoning after a long journey. So it's following the Sun card, card number 19, and it's marking a spiritual awakening where the soul is ready to evolve beyond the ego and embrace a higher calling. It contains both a 2, which means partnership, balance, decision-making, and the 0, which is divine potential, wholeness, and spiritual force. 20 reduces to the number 2. So our root number here is 2, and that's all about balance and duality. So choosing between the past and the future, the self and the higher self. It's also about partnership, this deeper connection, either with another or within our soul's truth. And then lastly, the 2 with our Judgment card here is this call to reconcile opposites and reach this inner or spiritual harmony. 20 is this powerful turning point. It is our soul's call to rise and evolve. It comes just before the World card, number 21, our last card in the Major Arcana. So it's this final test before full integration, this soul review or karmic checkpoint. So the message here is that you're at this threshold now with the Judgment card. And are you ready to answer the call and to rise above your past and claim your higher path? If the Judgment card shows up in the reverse and you're choosing to read reversals, the keywords are self-doubt, avoiding accountability, and fear of change. Perhaps there's unfinished business, this delayed awakening. You may be in denial. Maybe you've missed a calling, or you may be having this harsh self-judgment. So in general, the Judgment card reverse is suggesting that you're resisting a necessary transformation or perhaps ignoring a call to evolve. You may feel stuck because you're afraid to face the past or make a big decision. Or perhaps you're not fully owning your truth. This card can also point to this harsh self-criticism, making it hard to forgive yourself or move forward. And sometimes it can show this lack of closure. So perhaps you have unfinished karmic lessons or a repeated pattern that needs healing before you can rise into your next chapter. Some emotional and spiritual themes here when the Judgment card shows up in reverse is this fear of being judged or rejected. Maybe there's an inability to forgive yourself or others. You may not be trusting your inner calling, and this could be indicating a delay in spiritual growth or awakening. The message here is you know what needs to change, but something is holding you back. So don't let fear or guilt keep you from the freedom that comes with truth. So it really is a wake-up call when the Judgment card is showing up in reverse. Moving on to the connections to other cards section, the Judgment card can be connected to several other Major Arcana cards so far that we've gone over. And the first one would be the Fool. If we remember back to our first lesson on the Fool's journey, we'll remember that the Fool took this leap of faith on their journey. And the Judgment card is at the very end of this journey. They only have one more card after this to go through. Judgment is near the end of the Fool's journey, which is symbolizing a rebirth or new beginning after a deep reckoning. So after all the lessons that the Fool learned along the way. And the Fool's innocence and leap of faith cycles back after the Judgment's awakening and self-realization. So he's ready to start fresh but wiser. Our Judgment card is also connected to our Death card. Both cards represent transformation and rebirth. So the difference here is Death is signaling endings and shedding of old layers, while Judgment signals rising anew and answering the call to evolve. Together, they form a powerful duo of letting go with our Death card and then stepping into the new life with our Judgment card. Judgment is also connected to the Sun card that came just before it. The Sun precedes Judgment and represents illumination, clarity, and joy. So the Sun's light reveals truths and sets the stage for Judgment's deep spiritual reckoning. So after basking in the Sun's clarity, Judgment calls you to apply the awareness for transformation. Judgment also has a connection to our Justice card. So they both deal with accountability, truth, and moral reckoning. Justice is focusing on external fairness and law, while the Judgment focuses on internal spiritual judgment and awakening. Together, they emphasize fairness both outwardly and inwardly. And finally, we have the Hanged Man. So both involve perspective shifts. The Hanged Man signals surrender and pause, while Judgment is signaling action after awakening. So often surrender, the Hanged Man, precedes the awakening to call and rise. So with our perspective shift here with the Hanged Man, we can then learn the lessons and the mindset shift in order to rise up and awaken. For our insights and reflection section, there are a few things I noted here that I would like to share. So I've mentioned here that Judgment is inviting us to listen closely to our inner voice, or this spiritual call. It's not just about external events. It's this deep invitation to awaken to our true self and our purpose. It's asking us to release the past, letting go of guilt, regrets, and old stories and mindsets and patterns that are blocking our growth. Judgment encourages forgiveness, not only of others, but also of ourselves. And it's really the key to stepping forward and being free, rising up from what is holding us down. Judgment, I've also listed here, can be considered this rite of passage. So although the process, this journey, has been uncomfortable and challenging, it's necessary for evolution. We need to go through this fool's journey in order to fully evolve. So think of Judgment as this rite of passage, a rebirth into this wiser, fuller version of ourselves. And I've also noted here that Judgment can be a signal of a karmic cycle ending. So it's a reminder to be open to lessons closing and new chapters opening. Judgment isn't about punishment. It's about liberation through truth. So the card's inviting us to step out of fear and hesitation and into this authentic power. A few things I've written here for reflection prompts if you choose to journal about the cards. I have, what truths have I been avoiding that I need to face to move forward? In what ways am I ready to forgive myself or others? How can I better listen to my inner guidance or spiritual call? And this is one of my favorites. What old patterns or beliefs are ready to die so that I can be reborn? And it really does connect to this card symbolism here, the imagery of people rising up from their deathbeds, from their coffins. How do I define accountability for myself in this moment? And then finally, what does my higher self want me to know right now? Quite often when I'm journaling, that is one of the questions I ask almost daily, is what does my higher self need me to know right now? It's a way to open up that channel to allow your higher self to speak through your words as you're writing. And it's amazing some days what will come through that can come through, subconscious fears or thoughts that you don't even realize you're having. So it can be a very powerful healing activity if you're journaling every day. Especially with the cards. If you're pulling a tarot card each day and then journaling about it with your new knowledge of what the symbols mean, and then you ask, what does my higher self want me to know right now? Open your mind to the words that are going to come through to you. And you may be surprised how accurate they are. It may just be what you need to fully understand the next step in your evolution, in your journey. I'd like to take some time now to compare the Rider-Waite-Smith Judgment card to the other tarot decks that I have on hand. So we'll start with our Radley Valentine's Angel Tarot cards. And in this deck, his card number 20, instead of Judgment, he called it Renewal. And it's depicted by Archangel Jeremiel. It says here, review and evaluate a favorable assessment of the facts. Time to move in a new direction. I love the depiction here and all the colors. We have this purple archangel coming down here, standing before them, almost as if a part of this of the waves, of the water, of the subconscious and emotions. And instead of bodies rising up from the grave, we actually have what looks like a family here that is supporting one another and perhaps realizing that they're ready to evolve together and move to this higher realization of themselves. It's almost as if they've made it through this storm, and now it's the day of reckoning and realizing where they can go from here. It's a beautiful depiction. Our next deck is also by Radley Valentine. It's called Guardian Angel Messages Tarot. And in this deck, he also has Judgment called Renewal, card number 20. And we have this beautiful angel here, guardian angel with a trumpet. So it could be Archangel Gabriel. It says reflection, self-evaluation, and rebirth. So calling from the heavens, asking everyone to listen to their higher self, to rise up. The clouds are parting here. The sun is shining behind our angel. I like how they kept the colors similar with the white and red here to go along with the flag. Very nice. Okay, and our final deck here is the Wild Reflections Tarot deck. And in this deck, card number 20, Judgment, is showing this woman here staring directly at us. It's as if she is looking into our soul as she looks into her own soul. I love the spritz of light here coming down, surrounding her, as well as these large birds, perhaps vultures, coming in to symbolize this reckoning, this call to clean up and move on from our journey. We've made it through the storm. There's a little bit of water here coming in, these emotions. I think it's all about the facial expression though, really. In each of the cards so far in the Wild Reflections deck, I'm not sure any one of the people have looked directly at us and in that way. And that's a neat card. Okay, so this is what I have for Judgment. And in our next lesson, we will be learning all about card number 21, the World. And this will be our final card in the Major Arcana section. So we'll be able to wrap up the Fool's Journey with this reading. Okay, so that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next one.